That is a clip from a wonderful new holiday movie, Blending Christmas. Let me ask you, did you recognize the faces in that clip? Look closely. That's right, my friends. It is Greg, Bobby, Peter, and Cindy Brady. And they're together again, spreading holiday cheer. And now they all join me via Zoom for a Brady Bunch reunion. Welcome, Barry Williams, Christopher Knight, Mike Lukeland, and Susan Olsen. I can't believe I have you all here in one spot.
Nice.
It is actually like watching the Brady Bunch. Start pointing up and down. You probably could do that. That's right. That's very good. Oh, I love it. You know, first of all, it makes me feel at home to see you guys. The movie is fabulous. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit because it's very different from what I would have expected. But Barry, I'll start with you. I watched the new movie. I love the happy ending. What's it been like working together again?
Well, you know, my fellow Brady mates are my favorite people in the world. And over the years, and there have been a lot of them, more than 50, it's almost hard to tell where the fictional family ends and real life relationships and familial relationships begin. That's because that's what it feels like. We get together and it's like putting on a soft, comfortable glove.
Mike, this film is a first. I think it's true. It's the first time you guys were all together, but not playing Brady's.
Not playing Brady's, right. And in a crazy, ironic twist, my character, who is Haley Duff's uncle, we're all her uncles, plays an actor. And I'm the only Brady who never really pursued at any time after the Brady Bunch an acting career. And in this show, I play an actor, and it was a hoot. I got to be an even goofier version of my already pretty goofy self.
Well, yeah, I love the outfit. You know, I've interviewed a lot of child actors over the years, and many have struggled after stardom. I know Maureen McCormick, who's played Marsha, has been very open about her struggle with addiction. Susan, you were cast as Cindy Brady, and you were just 8 years of age, but you were actually playing a 5-year-old. So what kind of pressure did you face as a child star?
Mostly, I mean, I think we all, except for Eve and Barry, we returned to regular school when we weren't filming. I got teased a lot, and I've kind of compared notes with the others. And, as much as my mother was perfect in every way, she did one thing wrong. She followed the advice of the producers who said, your little girl with her pigtails is like a walking advertisement for the show. Could you please keep her in character? So half the reason why I would get teased, I think, is because I would go to school looking just like Cindy Brady. And I used to be very grateful that the show aired on a Friday so that hopefully the kids would have a weekend to forget the stupid things that Cindy did. My mother explained that they were jealous. It wasn't like I was being teased because I had something wrong with me. So, I mean, I knew it wasn't that bad, but, it still feels bad, especially when you're being teased for something that you didn't do.
Yeah.
Cindy did it while she was in my body.
No, it's well stated. I tell you, it's just, that's what you're paid to be an actor. Chris, I don't know if this has played into your concerns as well, but you have at least once admitted that you hated being a child actor, and you specifically said you hated being a Brady. Do you still feel that way? And why did you feel that way?
Looking back on it, I actually enjoyed it. And looking back on it more completely, it supplied a view of the way life could be. My family was completely chaotic, and it proved that there was others living in less chaos. And actually, we were, as Brady's, performing that, projecting that. At the time, though, I was an adolescent. We were dealing in 1972 and 3 with Watergate and the Vietnam War. I was, if the show would have continued, 2 years from being drafted into the Vietnam War. There was a lot going on in the social construct around us that wasn't being dealt with by the show. But I have to admit, looking back on it, that was the brilliance of the show and why today we're still talking about it and why it's evergreen, because it didn't deal with those things. it stayed true to what its inspiration was, and that is inside those four walls of a home. It literally is detached from time because it's dealing with universal truths of a child from the child's point of view. So what I hated was at the time, it not dealing with the very things I was dealing with in life. I was also influenced a bit by my mother, who hated the show because it was, to her, she was an artist. It wasn't artistic. It was banal. It was milquetoast. It was all these sweet things. Frankly, I liked the life that we were portraying a little more, and recognize now how important it was in other people's lives to have us sort of as a surrogate or as a replacement, as companions, and as an aspiration, if nothing else, to show how families that work together and cooperate and like each other can, build a positive life. And, now I look back on it from an adult perspective, and I don't hate it at all. Am I allowed to have a change in perspective?
You absolutely are. Chris, that is the most beautiful explanation of the Brady Bunch I've ever heard. I'm stunned. And let me just ask you all then, and maybe, Barry, maybe you want to comment. Do we want a show like that now? Because it seems like much of our entertainment deals with the time that we're in. And Barry, you can take this, but Chris, I thought you were going to say it allowed us to forget what was happening outside so that we can actually go back inside. But in fact, the timeless issues are the ones inside. It's the building block of society. That's how we make ourselves better, by starting with, as individuals, finding our place in our home, making our homes better, then build a community from there. Anyway, we got so much to talk about. When we come back, we're spilling the Brady secrets to longevity. What's been able to keep them acting for over 40 years? Plus, they're spilling never-before-heard secrets from the set. We are back with Barry Williams, Christopher Knight, Mike Lookinland, and Susan Olsen, best known as Greg, Bobby, Peter, and Cindy Brady. So, you guys have been able to practice your art form, your craft, for more than 40 years, which means you know the true definition of longevity. So, I'd like to share what's keeping you all looking young and feeling young. So, Barry, what's your secret to longevity?
I think it goes back to the same things. It's diet, and then it's exercise. As I've come into my 60s, I paid a lot more attention to that and cut out the things that weren't working for me, and added a lot more of the physical. I've always been athletic, but more disciplined physicality and lifting and things like that. So that's been working.
Mike, can you keep up with Barry?
Barry looks better. Barry looks better now. He looks younger now than he did 10 years ago, and that's great. I love that. I think in my case, I've just lived with all of life's ups and downs, I've lived a generally stress-free life all these years, which is great, because I have hypertension, and it's hereditary, but I got to watch my blood pressure, and if I say diet and exercise, my wife will roll her eyes so high she won't get them back, because she's on me. She's on me. She's on me every day about diet and exercise, and I appreciate her very much for that.
Chris, what do you do to protect your health as you get older?
Good question. It gets progressively harder. So it's been challenging over the last 10 years to do what I have been accustomed to doing. And as a result, I am not as active as I used to be, and I've gotten a little pudgy. But to be truthful, I'm happier than I've ever been. So where does that come from? The fact is I love to cook. It's one of the things I do. And I've always struggled with the fact that I've loved the kitchen. I love the experimentation in it and the product from it. And always frustrated that, also I got to watch what I'm eating. So I've released myself from part of that eating, and it's a happier result. So at least if I'm not going to be in shape, I can be jolly and hope to get back into shape when some of these issues calm down a bit.
All right, so I want to learn something here. This wouldn't be a reunion if we didn't spill some of the secrets from the set. So I'm going to go around rapid fire. Susan, who is the biggest diva?
Biggest diva?
Yes.
We all know the answer. Marsha.
I knew it. I knew it. She's like my sister. Barry, who was the most unlike their on-screen character and how?
Susan was definitely the most unlike her on-screen character, for sure. There was a little devilish rebel going on underneath those pigtails from the very beginning.
Mike, who had the hardest time remembering their lines?
Probably, I would say Chris. Just a good one-word answer. It was like I said earlier. My job was hit your mark and say your line. That was it. Acting that could come later.
Susan, who was the prankster?
Chris,
Oh my goodness!
mostly against Maureen, but I often helped him.
Yes, you.
I really enjoyed helping him. Mike and I used to prank each other, but it was Chris and I that would put frogs in Maureen's school desk and things like that.
So, Chris, let me ask you about Florence Henderson. Rest in peace. Although she was a mom, rumor has it that she had a risque sense of humor.
And that we could appreciate once we became adults. I'm not sure that it was fully appreciated by us as children because they kept that from us. Yeah. But I'm sure that many children have discovered that their parents were a little spicier than they portrayed themselves to be to that child when they were 4 or 5 years old. So Florence was had a lot of company. She was. I mean, just well-rounded. Just a wonderful.
There was a time or two on the set I remember, and it wasn't necessarily Florence, but some adult would say something or do something, and then hours later, like on the way home, my mother would say, do you know what that means? And I'd say no, and she'd say good.
I learned the big fart from her because you know how Mike Brady would walk in the door and say, "Honey, I'm home," and she would do deliberate outtakes. And one day she took off her shoes, threw them at him, and said, "Get out of here, you old fart! I'm sick and tired of you coming home," and shocked him to bits. And so then I said, "Mommy, what's a fart?"
Well, we all have to learn at some age.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on new videos to live the good life.